Hello, today I'm joined by Seli, who leads global partnerships and projects at Green Standards. Green Standards is a company that's reshaping how corporations retire office interior fittings and fixtures and furniture. While office moves and redesigns often create an invisible waste stream, her team turns that transition into a source of positive social and environmental impact. From coordinating donations to managing resale logistics, they bring strategy to the decommissioning phase of a workplace. If you've ever wondered what circularity looks like in action, this is the conversation for you. 36 of the Global Fortune 100, Kathy's team shows that sustainable decommissioning is frontline climate action. So welcome. Nice to see you, Seli.
So great to see you too, Charles. Thank you for letting me be here with you.
Roughly what share of the building's carbon sits in the furniture and fit-out layer today?
Good question. And there are a number of different studies that are coming out that are talking to that, some of which are implying that it's up to 37%. Some are as low as 17%. But what's changed, back to your original question, one of the things that's changed is that this is being measured now, whereas previously it wasn't. When they were looking at where this 39% or 40% came from, it was assumed that it was as it related to the building itself, the operational portion of the building, the shell, etc. But what's being learned now is that, in fact, a very high percentage of it is coming from the interior furniture, fixtures, and equipment. And with the shortening of leases and the turnover, what normally would have been a sort of an embodied carbon accounting over a longer period of time is a much shorter period of time, so the percentage is rising. So it's definitely required to be looked at. That, and in combination with those who are in pursuit of net zero or any of their ESG reporting, ignoring this is just not optional anymore.
Which of the new Scope 3 rules are pushing the companies to track the hidden footprint?
Scope 3, essentially 75% approximately of the emissions for the CDP are Scope 3 emissions, and they are Scope 3 sources. So if this is being ignored, your ability to successfully achieve Scope 3 numbers is virtually impossible. And again, as we look at what is happening out there from a corporation standpoint, from a reporting standpoint, et cetera, whether it's pursuit of net zero or simply aligning with ESG, Scope 3 is absolutely essential, and it's the one that is the most complex. And this is a really somewhat simplified, tangible way to start to attack Scope 3, but it's also necessary. So this is another reason, I think, why there is such a focus on what is actually happening on the upstream-downstream relationship between the furniture, fixtures, and equipment within the built environment.
I see. Well, people say that sustainability sometimes equals expensive. What does your data show?
It shows actually that it's not. And in fact, funny you say that. I smile because it is obviously a discussion I have often. The reality is the cost to remove furniture, dismantle furniture or equipment, etc. The cost to do that, the labor costs are the same, whether you're doing it sustainably or whether you're not doing it sustainably. To remove it out of the building, again, same thing. When we are donating to multiple locations, as an example, does that become a little bit more costly? Potentially, yes. However, what you also get with it is an opportunity to support community, which is invaluable in some ways, but also there's somebody needs to do that. And so there's labor attached to that or mind share attached to that. The managing of a decommissioned project when you're trying to do it responsibly, it takes more involvement, but the overall data that can come in and get you closer to your net zero, to your Scope 3, ends up outweighing perhaps some slightly higher costs relating to it's just physically taking actual items to more locations. But the cost of labor, the cost of a truck, the cost of gas, those are all the same. So it's really not relevant in that sense. They equal each other out. But the overall story is better. In addition, there's also often resale opportunities, and those costs go back into the project. Similarly, if recycling is something that is required, so you have recycling credits potentially with heavy metals, etc., as opposed to landfill tipping fees, which are rising increasingly around the world.
Right.
So they really often, this actually ends up being, if you fully utilize the advantages that are aligned with sustainable decommissioning towards your corporate missions and your goals, it in fact ends up being much more cost effective than traditional liquidation or straight up landfill. Yeah.
That's incredible. That's great. Well, yeah, I can imagine it would be when you factor in all those things. Are there any rules that prevent things from languishing in above ground landfills or warehouses?
Well, our rule is simple: is that it goes from location straight to end destination. There is no in between. The what we call the disposition plan. The disposition plan is set before anything is taken out of the building, so it goes from point A to point B and nothing in between. And that's critical for us. Not only does it minimize double handling and potential for damage, etc., it eliminates costs of warehousing. But more importantly, it allows us to accurately and in a very detailed, granular way report on any emissions avoidance, as well as landfill avoidance, et cetera, because we know exactly where everything has gone, including transfer of titles and all of those fun things that need to happen to absolve our clients from any sort of liabilities to their product.
Well, I was reading that your average is 98.6% landfill diversion.
Yes.
I mean, what makes that possible? That's amazing.
Again, it's a combination of an exceptionally talented team inside that are remarkably creative in trying to find ways to keep various different assets in use. I'll give you a strange example, but I think it's kind of interesting and certainly telling. There was a recent decommission of one of the things within it was, I think, 200 plus fire hoses, all coming out from inside a building. Okay. And I know, strange, but you can't recycle that. It's not. You can't break it down. It's not possible. But what our team was able to do is actually source out artists who in fact wanted these hoses to be able to use to create other products. So, it seems like such a strange thing. And I think often people would think, well, it's a hose. Why would we even talk to Green Standards about it? We're going to get rid of it. There's nothing to be done. I assure you, our team is remarkably talented in trying to find ways to keep product in use.
They would have to be to get a 98.6% landfill diversion rate. They would have to be amazing operators. Yeah. That's amazing.
They're incredibly talented, but we also, the reality is, the world is filled with non-for-profit, beautiful programming that is underfunded, and they need things. And what they need and what they're prepared and willing and wanting to work with is surprising. So things that you think they're no longer in fashion, they're no longer functioning the way that we want to do it, they're not they're not cutting edge. That's okay. They just want to be functional. So there is a lot of need and there is a lot of surplus, and we just make the connection.
So that ongoing diversion of the assets into those kind of uses must have a trickle-down effect for so many people that isn't even measured. That's just wonderful.
Yeah, it really is.
Speaking of measurement, how do Deloitte's audits and B Corp status turn the process into client trust?
I think what it does is it verifies that there has been a third party that has taken a look at our methodology, our programming, what we call what's under the hood. So the math and how do we calculate. In a world where greenwashing is spoken about a lot, in a world where everybody's coming out to say that they can do certain things, I think that always if you have another source that is recognized within the industry and that we open our data, our information, our processes into them and allow them the chance to go back many, many years to ensure that we are consistent in doing what we're supposed to be doing and that it works and that the numbers all make sense. I think that just makes it a little bit easier for those who maybe this is in their decision-making purview, and they don't necessarily have all of the detailed ability to pull apart our data. This is just
but it
another
makes it
layer
so
to
much more
say,
makes it so much more trustworthy,
Sure.
doesn't it? It's amazing.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a credibility statement, really.
Yeah, because there is so much greenwashing out there. So
Yes.
I guess you've covered most of it, but I would say, what do you think is next in circular workplace asset management? I've heard of things like material passports
Yeah.
and other things. What do you think is coming up or is starting to be in place that's advancing this?
Absolutely, the material passports, that is a piece of it. So essentially, if you imagine a QR code that is basically going to give you all of everything that has gone into the production of a product, so you'll know everything. Not unlike when you buy cereal and you look at the cereal box and you get all the details of what's in it and what percentages and where it came from and how everything is composed. That will be a big piece. As we know, the design community certainly is being asked and/or is bringing forward products that make more sense from a materiality standpoint.
As an architect and designer, this concept of design for disassembly sounds very, very good, and I don't see enough of it. What are you hearing about from manufacturers and others about that?
There's a lot of work being done that way. Interestingly, we started really engaging with a number of the manufacturers, talking in depth about what in fact is happening with their products, even though they've been designed with certain intention, whether it's viable or not. They've taken that information in with great excitement. Beyond that, without question, they push to have products that are easily repaired, easily changed, easily broken down. And so there's a couple of reasons for that. One is to extend its life, obviously. But the other is at its end of life to be able to break it down. So in fact, it can be broken down and recycled, or it could be harvested for parts. And that allows for another continuum that hasn't traditionally been, basically built into the design process.
Well, I think at least some fraction of that responsibility should be with the architects and designers and people like that, where they should be looking at design for disassembly when they're selecting things.
Absolutely,
because if they don't ask for it, people won't provide it, right? So, well, some will.
No, absolutely. I think that's just the next wave of it was for the last. Well, again, you would know better, really, where those years sit. But there's been an absolute push from the architect and design community, which we're grateful for, around materiality. So, what are the products you're using? I remember vividly when don't ask me the year because it was a long time ago, but when there was the push to go from move to water-based glues, as an example.
Oh yeah.
So we were talking about VOCs and so forth, and that was a big thing. Off-gassing and so forth.
Off-gassing, all that,
Absolutely, but that was I would say largely that was a push from the architect and design community, saying
I'm old enough to remember sick building syndrome. I don't know if you can.
Right, absolutely. Right, but when you think about that evolution, it went from there to again pushing materiality forth further. To you've got now fabrics that are produced from extracted waste that is found in our oceans. So you move from there, and then it's another layer of, it's not just about the ability to reuse product or reconfigure product, because that has again, that's not a new notion through the architect and design community, but now it's more about repairability, extending its life, its ability to break down, as I say, into various different components, et cetera. But it adds another layer of flexibility, and it's being demanded, and it's brilliant. It's exactly what is needed, particularly in support of circularity.
Wow. Well, we've covered a lot, and I guess we only had time to hit all the main points. I hope we hit enough of them. I guess I'd like to wrap it up by saying, if a corporate real estate leader wants to start tomorrow, what's the lowest friction first step?
Do you know what? It's call me. Honestly, it's contact us at Green Standards. and we can talk to what does that look like, typically to make it really meaningful and understood. You want to be dealing with 50,000 square feet and above, but we're not restricted to that. But it's let's have a conversation and understand what are your goals, what are you trying to achieve, and let us share with you what we think we can achieve with you, and then make some good decisions.
Okay, Kathy Seli, Green Standard, an amazing company and doing amazing work.
Thank you.
You guys should go to heaven for everything you're doing. It's wonderful. Thank
well, you know what? We don't do it alone. So thank you. The architect and design community is a massive influence in this. And, we appreciate it. But, again, corporate leaders are understanding it and they're wanting it. And we are grateful at the growth that we've had and the continuum. So thank you.
Well, a few months ago, I wouldn't have known much about it. Even when I met you last year at, I think it was perhaps Cornet, I wouldn't have known much about it. But it's easy to learn. So I'd like to encourage everybody to learn more about that, because it's that life cycle of getting it back out there and not resting in a landfill or something worse is such a big help to everything along the whole chain and Mother Earth too. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time.
If you'd like to learn more, email Kathy at kjcli27@gmail.com or connect with her on LinkedIn.